hotkeys.
Yeah, that's working.
But we got.
Okay, and we'll go over to LinkedIn and see if we come up. There's a new notification, which could be me. I get notified that I'm online right now. LinkedIn's kind of slow today, so I'm not sure about that. There it is. Okay. I'm not sure I got the part number right on that Kodak, but let's hope so. LinkedIn and see if we it is right. There's a new notification, which okay, there we go. I get notified 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right, I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. The sound kept going a little bit. Okay, what day is today? Thursday. Okay, Thursday. Coffee with John. Yeah, I have a cup of coffee on me. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you again. Okay, I thought this was interesting because, you know, the other day we did a story on Kodak. No, we did a story on a new app that mimics the the disposable cameras, which were a Kodak product back in the day. I used to use the underwater ones a little bit. And the joke of it is that you have to wait till the next day to see how your pictures turned out. And I think that's just hilarious. But anyway, Kodak apparently is still in business and still making big stuff. And so they got this digital print, and it's a 520 digital press, and it runs supposedly 2 or 3 times faster than litho web press. So I love this. Whoever wrote this article is funny. It says the company has applauded the new development. Nothing about the industry or what any printers would think about it. I also noted that it was water-based because, you know, one of the concerns I've always had about digital is those inkjet cartridges are like the most expensive liquid on earth. You know, there's just nothing more expensive than that, it seems like. But anyway, I guess the prices come down. And I don't know much about presses anymore. I read books from Rochester School of Printing or whatever it was in Rochester, New York, which is up where Kodak was headquartered. And it said, don't touch the inks. That was one of the rules. That was one of the press operator rules. Okay, Eric Koenig says, top 5 advertising objectives. And I'm kind of thinking that I was thinking that this was more about business to business, but actually the example he gave was consumer. Anyway, I was a little shocked at this. The top advertising and marketing objective was drive customer satisfaction. You know, I kind of think that has more to do with customer experience with, you know, how hard was it to order? Did the product do what it was supposed to for more than 15 minutes, or did it fall apart? You know, if I didn't like it, can I send it back? I don't think of it as an advertising marketing, much less the top one. I always thought advertising and marketing should be about like selling, selling stuff, you know, driving that sales engine. Customer acquisition, I thought, was pretty good. That's down here. Increased customer leads, you know, the cost of web and lead follow-up and those things are so inexpensive now that you can probably get two-step to work in consumer. We never could back in the day when we only had mail and, you know, we had to call them and we had to talk to them and mail them more stuff. It was always way more expensive than just getting them to buy in the first place. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting list of 5 marketing advertising objectives. I'm not sure that would be my list. Direct mail marketing has been adopted by growing and established brands alike due to its ability to reach, resonate, and convert both prospect and house audiences. This article is full of a lot of statements like that are nice statements that make you feel warm and fuzzy if you're into mail. I don't see a lot of really hard arguments. I like this one, that direct mail serves as an anchor platform for direct marketing programs. I think that's true, and I've argued for that direct mail has inherent in it a labeled data set, not only because it goes to the house and you ship to the house, but because it goes to the house and you have to engage with it. You can't just ignore it like you can with all digital. And even emails, more will fill in on top. With mail, you have to touch it, you have to look at it, and then you deal with it. And it's a decision maker that's dealing with it. So we know, in spite of the fact that not everybody buys, we at least know they saw it. And that's a huge difference. People forget that knowing who didn't buy is as a necessary ingredient to machine learning. Knowing the wrong answer is almost as powerful as knowing the right answer. Okay? And so I agree with this, but I wish Eric would flesh that out a little bit more. Here was an interesting one. Over 85% of global consumers admit a blend of both digital and physical channel experiences as their preferred way of interacting with brands. I wonder what that means. Does that mean that you definitely would like to smell the perfume before you buy it at the department store? Does it mean you would like to bounce on the furniture before buying it, that you wouldn't want to just digitally buy it? I argued that just the other day. I don't know what it means. I wish I did. I don't think it means physical mail satisfies that need. I don't know how it would. But anyway, a lot of good sentiments in here. I wish Eric would substantiate some of these. There is a case study in here. He mentions the 6 times higher response rate, but again, direct mail is like 20 times higher cost than a digital banner ad, even if it's targeted to a particular individual. So I'll let you subscribe to WDMA down below, and you can get the whole show notes, and you can tell me what you think of the article. Okay. I like this because it was in Forbes. I'm always looking for major media saying something about mail, and this was a panel of 13 members of Forbes' Coaches Council, and they suggested the tactics for generating offline exposure for your business. And direct mail mentioned right up front. They mention it down here. Well, write a relevant book. That's that can be a part if you're a coach, and if you're an industry leader. I think that's probably a good thing. I don't think it did as much for me as I'd hoped. I have made, more than my press expenses. I don't know that I've paid off all of the effort that I put into it. Invite customers to personal events, and what I'm trying to understand about that point from Michael Thiemann was it's a virtualized world, but he says think of things that will reach them emotionally. So I'm not quite sure. Avoid chatbots and automated emails when it comes to personal things and emotions, right? I'm not sure how. I think he's trying to say too much. I built the WDMA when I started by just inviting people to, we found a room, we found a restaurant that had a back room or something, and we would just gather there and talk direct marketing. And what I found was that if you invited people on a connect on LinkedIn, you got way more connection. You got a way higher connection rate, over 30%, I would say, because you were inviting them to something that was in their area. And so I highly recommend that, even as a LinkedIn technique. If you've got the ability to open up, that an event in someone's location, if you're a coach, is a very good way to get people's attention and say, I'm local, I'm accessible, I'm real. Not that there isn't value in having a coach in Kenya, but the time differences make it really hard. So send mail with a personal note. Now, that isn't what I'd call direct mail or mass mail, but I am doing a little bit of it, and I'm going to do another one. I took a great deal of care writing to Jackie Stracco, and never heard back. And I wrote her yesterday again to say, did you get it? I think I'm going to do greeting cards and write notes in those because, they're a little more obviously not business mail. And, I just want to say hello and say we should be working together. So if anyone knows a good source for, 100 business greeting cards, maybe with a we should be working together kind of message. I'd really be interested in hearing that. And if there aren't any, maybe we should start a business. Run a public relations. I didn't know what to do with that one. Send a branded postcard. Well, okay, I don't even know what that. Again, I'm not sure what that means. People aren't receiving. There were some good comments. People aren't receiving as much mail as they used to. So sending a postcard can help your company stand out. I think this is a suggestion for direct mail. And that's why I like the article, because at least it's upfront and it says, mail is a really helpful channel, especially if you're in a space with business to business and you're trying to reach decision makers. I wanted to get to Summer Gould's how to find prospects with direct mail. I always like what Summer has to say, and she mentions Prism keeps enhancing their services. I've been using Prism, gee willikers, since about 1994. Yeah, long time. And I wanted to build my own clusters because they were such fun, furs and station wagons, guns and pickup trucks. Those were the original Prism, some of the original Prism names. You offer pen-written notes, huh, Keith? I'd like to see what that's about. I need to talk to you anyway. We have to talk about business. Keith and I have a possible connection for you also, a possible customer. Okay, so anyway, here's the challenge for Summer. Profiling, she makes the claim down in here, and so we'll skip to that, way down, that you can get, by profiling your customers, and what you do is you send your customers out, and basically by carrier route code or zip code, or you can even do it a 3-digit zip. We do that for national mailers. Very, very quick, very simple. Shows them some of the SKUs in some of the key variables. She says it gives you valuable information on your current customers. You got to be really careful because most of it is not done at the household level, or if it is, it's done from carrier or a census tract long form averages applied to that household. So what I mean is, I looked up myself once, my house, relatively average house, and the home value was almost right on the button. I looked up, it had my annual income pretty close, it had my age pretty close. I thought, gee, that's amazing. I thought this was all just averages. So then I did my next door neighbor who has the house on the lake. It's worth, not 10 times, but yeah, maybe 10 times. It was worth a lot more than mine, okay, let's just say. And let's say 5 times more. But their numbers were exactly the same. Same age, same income, same. And what they did was they made it look like it was applied at the individual household level. But there isn't all that much data that's available at the individual household level. And you have to pay quite a bit for it. So most of the profiling is not done at the individual household level. They'll use average credit scores for that geography, and it's not a bad thing. It's a pretty good thing. You can get individual data appended, but it's spotty often and inaccurate often. It's not as good as you think. We just did a big project with Epsilon, and and once we got it, and once we took all the time to match it to the individual customer, you have to have the household to match the customer, and you have to have data there. And once we got that, the modeling impact was basically nothing. So when you're thinking marketing and you're thinking mass, you're thinking a message, an offer, a big thing to move your business along. A lot of these things they're not as valuable as we've made them sound. And I want you to be cautious. But the second thing that's even more difficult is find more like them. That sometimes can be a trap because let's say you've always marketed to one market, upscale market. And what you don't realize, or let's say you've always marketed to bakers, and baking is dwindling. Let's say this is like a 20-year-old story. And so you're not sure who to market to, and your sales are going down, and nobody's baking anymore. They're just buying box mixes. And you find 1 or 2 spots where it seems like sales are going up. And, there's no profiling will say bakers are it. Well, the Windham Hill is a good example. Windham Hill Records, I talked about it yesterday. They had me out, and they said, we've profiled our listeners and our customers, and they're 35 to 55, male, high income, high education. Like Silicon Valley guys, and we rent those lists, or we rent those geodemographics, and we get no orders at all. And one of the problems is not everybody likes mail, and not everybody in those days bought remote. But a bigger problem was that when they took that profile and applied it to the nation, there were about 14 million of those kind of people that fit that demographic. So even if 100% of their customers were that didn't mean 100% of those kind of people were their customers. Does that make sense? It's a little bit of logic. This is a little advanced today. Okay? And so that's why I came up with the idea of why not put an offer in your CDs to the people who like your music and tell them you have a catalog and see if they want one. Rather than assuming that because all the people that like your music are this, and it isn't true that all are, but that's what the profile told them. Assuming that because someone is this, they like your music is a huge leap, right? Huge leap. So you have to be careful with these things. You have to have, again, I'm always saying, you don't have to have an old guy that's been through it a few times, but I can tell you I could probably go on for a half an hour just on profiling stories, where it didn't come out quite as neat and clean as people liked. So, kudos to Summer for always coming up with good stuff that I can talk about. And here's the next thing. The next point in the article is variable data printing. And we were talking about Kodak, so I want to include this. The big problem in variable print is, why should we change the offer? Why should we change the picture? If the picture is only 20% or 10%, if the creative is only 10% of the impact of a piece, you can test that, right? Unless there's a really good reason to change the piece, there may not be a reason to change the piece. And I'm working with the style consultant on, mailing 1,000 pieces or something. Well, just print the thing. If it works, maybe we go for something a little more nuanced later. Let's walk before we run, and that is my advice for you today. Like and share. Your friends will know